like the Order Paper podcast, hit like, tap subscribe. And if you really want to back more content, drop a super thanks or become a member.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Lyndon Glass. I'm the MD of Fresh Pork New Zealand, and with me is Shannon Parnham, our GM of Livestock Supply. We're obviously here to provide an oral submission on behalf of Fresh Pork New Zealand. Sorry?
No, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time today. I
Yeah,
appreciate you were there and we are here, and I apologise for our absence. Parliament is in recess, so I will leave it with you.
Yep, no, that's fine. No, just want to thank the Select Committee for the opportunity to submit and for your time here today, and we'll take it that our submission is read. Look, Fresh Pork is a family-owned business that has been operating for over 40 years. We currently employ about 150 people. We partner with about 20 farmers in the South Island. Most of those farmers are also family-owned businesses. Combined with our various partners, we estimate our contribution to the New Zealand economy to be more than 350 million. We're currently domestic only, and we're proud to feed Kiwis right around the country with high quality New Zealand grown pork. Fresh Pork New Zealand fully supports the continuous improvement of our industry, and we support regulations and standards that best enable this to happen, both now and into the future. We're in support of the proposed Animal Welfare Amendment Bill on the basis that we believe it provides the best science-based welfare position for both the sow and the piglet, along with an appropriate time frame to make what will be significant changes for the industry. Fresh Pork also believes that in conjunction with proposed changes, that it is critical that all pork consumed here in New Zealand must meet our New Zealand welfare standards. Today, that is not the case, with about 60% of pork consumed in New Zealand coming from other countries, most of which does not meet our current standards, never mind the new standards that are being proposed. If New Zealand wants to make the biggest improvement in pig welfare, ensure pork imports also meet our welfare standards. There's a real risk that without requiring imports to meet our new standards, that we will see more New Zealand farmers exit our industry. They simply can't compete. In doing so, we will effectively offshore the welfare standards by allowing lower welfare imports to fill the demand gap created. We're not asking to ban imported pork. What we are saying is that we need an equal playing field, and strongly request that this is put in place at the same time as the new New Zealand Pig Welfare Code. We also support the need to improve our country of origin labelling on products. However, this is required to help the New Zealand consumer be better informed about where their products come from. It should not be a substitute to allow lower welfare pork to be imported into New Zealand. The last 5 years have been particularly frustrating for the New Zealand pork industry. I can genuinely say that this latest welfare code review has created significant uncertainty for New Zealand pig farmers and everyone else in the value chain, including ourselves. We've effectively been in limbo for the last 5 years, waiting for the new code to be confirmed. Farmers haven't known where the welfare code was going to land, so it's been impossible for them to make an informed call on how or what to invest in on farm. While we've heard various other submissions during this process refer to farmers having 5 years from 2020 to comply with the changes, we believe this simply is not the case. How can we expect farmers to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, without knowing what the new pig welfare code is and what they need to be doing? I'd suggest not many would do this, and banks would struggle to support funding requirements. This limbo period has stifled investment in our industry at a time when many want to invest in improvements and modernisation of their operations. This has been the same for Fresh Pork New Zealand, who is wanting to progress our plans to modernise our facilities and also become export capable. We require a well-balanced pig welfare code to provide us with long-term confidence to invest and continue to progress our domestic industry. I'll just pass over to Shannon to talk us through a little further on the details of our submission.
Sorry, Jen, we have about 5 minutes left, so if you want any further questions at the end, just be cognizant of that.
Yeah, I'll run fast. Thanks, Lyndon. While Lyndon has touched on who Fresh Pork NZ is, how critical it is to align input standards with our own welfare standards, and some key points around how the industry has been in limbo for the last 5 years, I wanted to touch on some of the science-based material, overseas comparisons, and the proposed 10-year transitional period. A reference a paper released by MPI completed in March 2025, reviewing 142 scientific papers dealing with farrowing systems and space allowance. While I won't go into the specific details, the conclusions reached, and I will quote from the executive summary, regarding farrowing systems, the literature suggests that temporary crating systems in which farrowing crate use is limited to 2 to 3 days pre-farrowing until 4 to 5 days post-farrowing, and providing sows with deformable and manipulative materials with which to build a nest allows the sow to display normal patterns of behaviour, thereby limiting sow stress while reducing peri and postnatal piglet mortality, including crushing and savaging. Regarding space allowance for grower pigs, the statistical tools available to analyse available literature provide no evidence that productivity or welfare measurements will be improved with a K value greater than 0.03, the current minimum standard. Although K values of 0.034 and 0.39 have been proposed in the literature as threshold values, below which productivity and welfare are compromised, respectively. Accordingly, we conclude that the need to display normal patterns of behaviour does not, on the evidence presently available, require increasing the minimum K value. End quote. We also want to next address farrowing crates as it relates to other countries' usage. As discussed previously, farrowing crates are essentially a way of temporarily confining a sow's movement to mainly stop squashing of piglets over the first part of the life cycle. No country currently fully bans confinement, and the current proposal in front of us for limiting confinement to 7 days, or 3% of a sow's time, would put us in the front of the pack, even when taking into account the transitional period. Just to finish, Fresh Pork is accepting of the 10-year transitional period due to the state of limbo of the industry, as discussed by Lyndon, but also due to some other factors which include the time frame required for research, technologies and solutions from around the world that meet our new welfare code, planning, process change, resource consenting and building consents, which take up a significant amount of time to process and will eat into the transitional time even before any building commences. Given the scale of the costs, most farmers will need to debt fund, unlike some of the countries that we've talked about in Europe, which have provided significant support to their farmers. We don't get that support, so therefore we will debt fund this. This will take a significant amount of time to work through the process with our banks, and we're assuming that the state of the debt markets and the bank's willingness to invest in a sector in a flux of change is accepting. And also the last point is we strongly believe that the 10-year implementation period provides sufficient time to require inputs to meet our new welfare standards, which is a must if we really want to improve animal welfare and support a thriving domestic pork industry. I'll hand back to Lyndon to close before we have to take questions. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I just want to close by reiterating our support of the proposed bill. We see this bill providing positive impacts for pig welfare. However, to ensure we maximise the true welfare benefit, imported pork must meet those same New Zealand standards. Otherwise, we're ignoring the 60% pork consumed in New Zealand that currently comes from overseas. This would provide the biggest improvement in pig welfare while providing Fresh Pork with the confidence to progress with our investment ambitions, and we would have the confidence in marketing our New Zealand produced pork both domestically and overseas, knowing it leads the world from an animal welfare perspective as well as a New Zealand quality perspective. If this is achieved, we see positive impacts for our New Zealand industry, our New Zealand pork consumers, and New Zealand Inc. We thank the committee again for hearing our views. And
thank you, gentlemen, for having the time to come into Parliament, and I apologise for our absence again. We have 1 minute left. I just want to note that we're talking about imported pork as being somewhat different from the bill at hand, and obviously it's out of the scope of the bill, or this current bill. 30 seconds left. Someone wants to ask a question of the two wonderful gentlemen. Lead on.
Thanks, Mark. Miles here.
Yeah, Miles.
I just want to ask the gentleman around the, we've been told by several submitters that Switzerland, Sweden and Norway have banned the farrowing crates, and you're saying that's not the case. Perhaps you could expand on that a little, please.
It comes down to actually confinement, which is what a farrowing crate actually does. So while they've pulled out farrowing crates, they have not actually cut off confinement, which is what we're talking about. So that being the difference that I make in regards to that comment.
Could you expand on that, please?
It comes down to actually confinement. So they actually will still use confinement to keep the sow safe, so that the piglets don't get rolled over. So while their space at the moment is not as larger than ours, they are still actually using confinement. So to say that confinement isn't happening is not true.
Interesting. Thank you.
Up on that.
Yeah, I believe
very, very, very quickly, please.
Do you mean that they're using pens rather than crates, but they're substantially larger?
They are larger than the actual farrowing crate, correct? But they are still.
The images I've seen, they look very different.
For the ones that have said that they've banned farrowing crates, they're actually still having confinement. So that's.
Yeah. Thanks, gents. Sorry to move things along so quickly. We've just got over a dozen people to hear from before 1 o'clock. So thank you both for coming in. It's a journey, I know, and we're grateful for your time and your thoughts and ideas on a salient issue. So, gentlemen, have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mark was really hamming it up at the end with those two. Okay, so yeah, let's okay. For starters, I don't care about blokes that want to keep pigs in crates. I just want to address this comment first. Right, my apologies in regards to Super Chat. So, Alex, there's no need to apologize. But you're talking about a really hyper-specific thing that, I mean, it's just not in my neck of the woods, so I don't really know as much about it as I'd like to really give any meaningful commentary. That's all I meant. I didn't imply that you did anything wrong. You haven't done anything wrong. It's good to talk about these things.
Yeah.
That's how we find out.
How
but
you
yeah,
fund the show.
yeah, I mean, there's also that. But what's more important is yeah, I do like this discussion. But I need a bit more information, and also I am intoxicated, so my brain is not quite working at full capacity at the moment. So no, if anything, I'm sorry. But anyways, going back to the pigmen. Right, so let's talk about the farrowing crates, because I've actually got their regulations and stuff up. So farrowing crates are prohibited in Sweden, Norway, and Switzerland. There are some exceptions, however, to allow confinement of sows in certain situations to protect piglet welfare. For example, in Sweden, regulations allow the sows to have restricted movement if they display aggressive or abnormal behavior. They didn't include that part in their submission, did they?
No.
Aggressive or abnormal behavior that could risk injuring piglets, but only during the piglet's first few days of life. So that's not what they said in their submission. In Norway, very restless sows may be confined for a maximum of 7 days after farrowing, and in Switzerland, the sow may be confined only in exceptional cases, such as leg weakness or if the sow injures her piglets while giving birth. So their regulations are still better than ours.
That's saying something.
And Germany is heading that way as well. So the EU is actually heading in that direction towards prohibiting farrowing crates. We should be doing the same.
Maybe that's where we should be importing our pork from.
Yeah.
I wonder
Yeah,
where
yeah, exactly.
Canada's going, actually, because Canada is very famous for pork and particularly bacon.
Yeah, the United Kingdom is actually going in that direction as well.
Well, at the moment, unless you end up getting with Nigel Farage as Prime Minister.
I'll stick him in a fucking crate. Sorry, pardon me. But that's what I think about the guy. I'm not a fan of him. He's very supportive of the likes of Vladimir Putin, and I don't like that man.
Yeah.
And also, I'm intoxicated, so I can say dumb things.
It's all right. We don't have an HR department, so I doubt you're going to get into shit with HR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook.